Hi guys, it's me, your one and only Reddit girl. Today we're going to be looking at the subreddit Malicious Compliance, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our videos. But for right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Malicious Compliance. Whiny neighbor complains about trailer, gets a nice view of it. This story happened some years ago when I was still at my parents'. For context, where I live, we're allowed to park on the side of the street, just not in front of our own house. So my parents have a very whiny neighbor who likes to complain about anything and everything, be it a dog barking a little bit or a lawn not being mowed often enough, and he likes to call the cops over it. So one day, my father had his trailer parked on the street in front of our house, but it wasn't pinned to a vehicle. Apparently this is not allowed, and our whiny neighbor called the cops on us, because he didn't like to see the trailer in the street. So a nice policewoman knocks on our door and tells my dad he can't leave his trailer unpinned on the street. My father asked her, what if it wasn't pinned? Policewoman, then it's all good. My dad needed no more. He immediately pinned the trailer on his truck and left it parked on the street, in front of the neighbor's house. If I remember correctly, he left it there for about 2 days. More than enough time for the whiny neighbor to enjoy the view. Man, that was awesome. The cop tells him, yeah, it's okay to leave the truck out here as long as it's pinned to a vehicle. So he does, right in front of the busybody neighbor's house. I mean, what kind of neighbor calls the cops on you because you haven't mowed your lawn enough? They sound like they're kind of bored with their own life and hoping to make some drama in the neighborhood. But it looks like it backfired on him this time. We are all malicious compliers on this blessed day. A guy I know, we both work in emergency services / public safety, was at a restaurant with his family. He racked up $100 plus bill. Waitress brings the bill, he puts his credit card in the receipt thing and hands it to her. She comes back a few minutes later, tells him that she can't charge the meal to the card because he doesn't look like his picture on the credit card. Well, that's true. He had lost 150 pounds in the preceding 2 years. Oh, that's me. I used to be fat. I'm sorry, sir. You don't look like the picture. My manager won't let me run the card. Well, I don't carry that much cash, and that's my only credit card. So what do you want to do? I don't know, sir, but I can't charge this card if you don't match the picture. Well, kids, you heard the lady. Free meal! Manager comes out. Sir, you're gonna have to find another way to pay for the check. There isn't another way. I gave you my card. You refused to charge it, so it's your problem now. Well, if you leave, I'll have to call the police.
11 minutes later.
Hey Josh, what's up? Remember, Josh works public safety. He personally knows all the local cops. They won't take my card because it has my fat picture on it. Cop tries very hard not to laugh. Yes ma'am, I can vouch for him. He's the same person as that extremely fat picture on the card. I can't charge the card if the picture doesn't match. So he's tried to pay now, and I've confirmed he is who he says he is, and the picture on the card is him, and you won't run the card? I'm not allowed to. Well, Josh, you heard the lady. Free meal. Josh and the cop proceeded to stand in the parking lot for another 20 minutes laughing and talking, while the manager glared out the door from behind the hostess stand. Josh's wife and kids, teenagers by the way, had long since walked to the Target across the parking lot. I often would ask him if he'd been back to the restaurant. He said he got a new card recently with no picture at all, and he did go back, just he and his wife. Different waitress, never saw the manager, ate, paid, left. It was Longhorn Steakhouse, if you were wondering. You know, to be honest, I was kind of wondering. I mean, because I personally have never seen a credit card with somebody's picture on it, but it's not to say that they're not out there. But if everything else matches his license's name, then what is the problem with taking the card? I mean, you basically just talked yourself out of a paying customer. And I don't know if I would have gone back to the restaurant if I was him. But good on you, Josh, for going back and giving them another try. Of course you can speak to the manager. So I work in a Subway, and this happened about a day ago. I figured it belonged here. So a woman walks in and orders a foot-long sub. Everything goes well until she sits down to eat. She comes back to the counter and the following conversation takes place. "Why is there no mayo on my sandwich?" "You didn't ask for any." "Yes, I did! Let me speak to the manager." In case you didn't know, no subways have managers, but a person that operates the biggest one in the area, in this case the one in the shopping center, comes by every so often to see how you're doing. Otherwise, it's the person who's been working there the longest. In this case, me. "I am the manager, ma'am." "What? Give me the number to Subway customer service then." "We don't have a customer service number." "Well, give me the number to whoever is in charge here." I give her the number to the subway she was in, and she gives me this huge grin, like she knows I was going to get in trouble. She calls the number, and the phone next to me starts ringing. I pick it up and look her straight in the eye and say, "Thank you for calling Subway. How may we help you?" The woman looked at me in shock. "What? Would you like me to pass you on to our support team?" "Yes!" I put the phone down for a few seconds and pick it back up and then say, "This is Subway support. How may I assist you?" The woman slammed her phone against the table, hung up, and gave me a death stare and walked out. I told my manager about it. He was a chill guy, and he gave me a high five. I freaking love working in fast food. Now see, maybe this is just me, but I don't get it. If the sub was missing mayo, and mayo is not a charged topping at any Subway I've ever been to, why couldn't she just ask for some mayo and put it on the sub rather than coming up complaining that it didn't have mayo and she wants the manager? But I guess that's the typical Karen mindset. Oh, you didn't get your way? Ask for the manager. Supervisor breaks the rules, burns down his life. Several years ago, I worked as a local delivery driver for a steel processing plant. We would take stock units of plate and structural steel and process them into parts our customers could use. Some processes, such as painting, would go to a third-party vendor and then come back to us for shipment to the customer. I worked on a set routine: deliver to the paint shop in the morning, bring back the orders painted the day before. When the trailer was being unloaded, I would hook another trailer and deliver finished products to a customer about 70 miles away from the shop. This delivery had a hard appointment time of 2 p.m., and I could not miss it. When I returned making that delivery, I would finish up the day with short deliveries or pickups as needed and then go home. It was an easy, stress-free job as long as I stuck to routine and made my appointments on time. Communication between departments was poor though, and it disrupted the entire process. For example, the scheduling department might think a certain production run had been finished and was gone for outside processing, when in reality, the production department hadn't even started the order yet. I spent a lot of afternoons driving around in an empty truck chasing phantom orders that I knew had never been delivered because some office drone wanted me to check and make sure, or running hot orders out to vendors that were overlooked during my morning trip. Enter my main antagonist, one of the first shift production supervisors. I was constantly butting heads with him because he forever tried to hold up my truck with last-second add-ons. This wouldn't have been a big deal, except they almost always interfered with my 2 p.m. delivery, the one that I had to be on time for. I kept explaining that I could do his errands in the morning or the afternoons, but he couldn't mess with the middle of my day. He was arrogant and condescending with everyone, but he took a special dislike towards me because I wasn't in his chain of command and wouldn't bend over backwards to accommodate his wants. It didn't help that my direct supervisor was a milquetoast little man that avoided conflict at any cost. I ended up taking a lot of heat from this production supervisor, even though he couldn't really punish me for meeting my other work obligations. Things finally came to a head when the supervisor came to shipping with a large order that needed to go to paint. I was about to leave for my 2 p.m. customer and told him so, but I had room left on the truck. If he wanted to load his parts on, I would deliver them on my way back from my primary delivery. This wasn't good enough for him. These parts were behind schedule and had to get painted immediately. If I delivered them in the afternoon, they wouldn't get painted until the following day, which would put him further behind. To top it off, his order required a special marine-grade paint that had been mistakenly delivered to our company location instead of the paint shop, and it all needed to go ASAP. We began our usual back and forth. I had a delivery appointment. I could do what he wanted, but I couldn't do it on his schedule. After a heated conversation which devolved into rudeness and name-calling of a nature unbecoming of his position, he finally said, "Fine, I'll take it myself in the other truck." In addition to the tractor trailer that I drove, we had a smaller delivery truck on hand for occasional use. He decided to drive it on the down low, loading up and heading out without telling our shipping department. This would have been a grand idea, but driving other truck requires a commercial driver's license, which the supervisor did not have. I pointed this out to him, to which he replied he was only going up the road and everything would be fine. I pointed out that he didn't have a hazardous material endorsement to transport the paint. Again, he was just going up the road and I needed to shut the hell up. Write him out directions to the paint shop and get out of the way since I was effing useless anyway. So I did just that. I wrote him out a perfect set of turn-by-turn directions. How was this malicious compliance? Well, this paint shop was about 30 miles up the road, but I knew, and he didn't, that about 15 miles up the road was a DOT way station that always had at least 2 state troopers inside, and at least one of them was a commercial enforcement officer. The truck the supervisor wanted to drive wasn't equipped with an easy pass transponder that would allow him to bypass the scale, and I knew, given his already demonstrated ignorance, he wouldn't know that until he was required to pull in. I figured he would blow right past, and one of those troopers would put down his coffee long enough to chase him and find out why. To my great delight, this is exactly what happened. The trooper saw him drive past and pulled him over. Then they escorted him back to the way station for a thorough inspection. For those unfamiliar, the transportation industry is highly regulated. Some might say overregulated, but anyone that makes a career knows it's best to follow the laws or face some serious consequences. The supervisor didn't know any of this and was like a lamb to the slaughter. The DOT inspector ripped him to pieces. Among the biggest infractions he was cited for: no CDL, $2,500 fine, up to $10,000 to the company, misdemeanor charges, 90-day suspended driver's license, no hazmat endorsement, no documenting paperwork for the hazmat, no place cards identifying the vehicle as carrying hazardous materials, $50,000 fine to the company, more if the results in illness, injury, or death to another person. And a bonus was when the trooper escorted him back to the way station. The scale master saw him talking on his cell phone. The dude was making a panic call to the company manager. Using a handheld device is also a big no-no. That's another $2,500, $10,000 to $11,000 to the company. The truck was put out of service at the way station until it had a proper bill of loading, hazmat paperwork, and a driver with a valid license. The supervisor wasn't allowed to leave himself until someone came to get him. Needless to say, he lost his job immediately. I suspected that would happen, so I hung around the shipping office after my afternoon delivery. I got to witness his walk of shame as he was escorted out of the building. I was never officially told just how much his fines were, but an educated guess puts it at thousands to him personally, and potentially close to $100,000 for the company. I do know the company tried to sue him in civil court to recoup some of their losses, although I don't know the outcome. I left to take another job shortly after. I figured even though I wasn't the one at fault, my role in the fiasco wouldn't be looked upon in kind fashion. The best part, though, was that after months of watching him swagger around wearing a big hubris cowboy hat, I was the one who got to knock it off his head. Edit. Holy crap, this blew up. I'm so glad so many appreciated my story. I just have a few clarifications. To those saying I had a greater responsibility to stop this clown, I left the building before he did. For all I know, he listened to my advice. I didn't think he would, but I didn't know that for sure until after the fact. The route I gave him was the only reasonable way to go. MapQuest or GPS would have given him the same directions. Second, management was terrible. If he'd gotten away with it, they would have praised him for doing whatever it takes to get the job done. Remember, I'm just the delivery boy. My opinions and knowledge didn't matter. Lastly, my direct supervisor was there for the conversation. He understood the possibilities, and as my supervisor, it became his responsibility to deal with it. He preferred to resolve conflict by avoiding it. Frankly, I think he was tired of the big dog attitude, and happy to see this guy get what he had coming. Well, maybe it's just me, but I don't necessarily know if this is just malicious compliance. It kind of feels like there's a little flavor of revenge in here for this guy constantly giving him a hard time and being a jerk. What do you guys think? Well, guys, thanks for listening. That's going to do it for today's video. If you'd like, check out another one of our videos. It should be up in the top left-hand corner. Or why not click the little Reddit girl on the top right and join us so that you never miss out on the videos. But I do want to really thank you for listening. This has been your one and only Reddit girl, and I'll see you real soon.